السلام عليكم، كيف الحال؟ اسمي أركان الطرية، أهلا وسهلا. السلام عليكم، اسمي أركان الطرية. Welcome back to Arabi Sahel Easy Arabic Podcast. Welcome to Season 2, Lesson 6. Today's lesson is a bit different, very special actually. So I'm not following the same format as Arabi Sahel podcast lessons. So probably already guessed from the title. Today we're talking about Ramadan, or as we say in Arabic, Ramadan. Ramadan is the holy month of fasting in Islam. Now you might think to yourself, this is a podcast that teach Arabic. Why are we learning about Islam? Well, here is an important thing you need to know when you learn Arabic, that it's inevitable that you're going to learn things about Islam because it's the main religion in the Middle East. And aspects of Islam affect many of our daily life. And Ramadan is not just a month of fasting for Muslims. It affects the culture as well. Think of it as Christmas. Christmas brings a special atmosphere to the world, and so does Ramadan. I know it's not fair, but it only makes sense that I would compare the festivity of Ramadan to the festivity of a Christmas. There's nothing wrong with that. They both are religious holidays, and they affect more than just the community that follows that specific religion. A few things about Ramadan. It's the 9th month of the Hijri Islamic calendar, and since it's a lunar calendar, the month shifts 11 days earlier each year. That means Muslims experience fasting Ramadan in all seasons throughout their lifetime. I remember when I started fasting when I was a kid, it was in winter, and we are back in winter. So why do Muslims fast Ramadan? Well, it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. That means basically that God, Allah, said that we have to fast, so we have to fast. But there are other benefits of fasting, a few of which: abstaining from worldly desires, being submissive to God, feeling God's grace, developing self-control, and experiencing what it's like to be poor. And that last one is something that we teach our children from a very young age. Some children start fasting from the age of 6 because they see their parents and other adults doing it and they feel like, oh, I want to do that too. My niece is almost 7 and she wants to fast Ramadan this year. But as parents, we go easy on them. We don't expect them to fast the whole day. This month is extra special because it's the month of the revelation of the Quran, the holy book of Islam. Last lesson, I asked about if there is a special meal that you enjoy in special occasions in your culture. And today I'm going to talk about 2 special meals that we enjoy during Ramadan. The first one, iftar, and that's the meal that we break our fast with. Because Muslims have to fast from a bit before sunrise, dawn basically, until sunset. It's a whole day, and we continue with our daily business as normal, well, more or less. So we are waiting for this meal to nurture our bodies again. This meal is extra special because unlike the rest of the year, where there's few chances of enjoying a meal with the rest of the family, during Ramadan, we enjoy the iftar together every day for 30 days. The second meal is suhoor. And this is similar to breakfast because we have it before we start fasting. So we know what time we need to fast for tomorrow. We make sure that we set the alarm an hour, half an hour before, and we have tea or coffee with sandwiches. Some people go extreme during suhoor, but growing up in my family, we have something simple like we usually have for breakfast. So when Muslims fast during the day, what are they not allowed to have? Well, of course, food, drinks, any sort of drinks. Nothing could come into your body through your throat. But if you also take IV, that also breaks your fast because you are giving your body nutrients. Other things that are prohibited: sexual intercourse, smoking, and cursing. If you curse, especially if you curse Allah, then your day doesn't count as fasting, but you still have to continue fasting. So you can't go drink or eat something, but when Ramadan is over, you have to fast it again. A good question often asked: who fasts Ramadan? Every healthy, capable adult Muslim must fast Ramadan. A lot of people don't, but there are groups of people who can't fast. God said you shouldn't fast because, one, children, people with physical illnesses, pregnant women or breastfeeding women, women during their menstrual cycle, elderly, and travelers for a long distance. These people are not supposed to fast for, of course, health issues, but let's say a pregnant woman or breastfeeding woman or women during their menstrual cycle or travelers, because it's only health issue during Ramadan, after they are back to normal lives, they have to fast those days that they missed during Ramadan. Special thing about Ramadan: forgiveness is on sale during Ramadan. That means good deeds are amplified. So if you do a good deed to other people and people like to do more good deeds in Ramadan, that means that you are at a better status with God. Also, it's time for family. As I mentioned before, every day during Ramadan, we share a meal, iftar, together with the rest of the family. And that strengthens the bond that family members have, even extended family members. And Ramadan is time for giving. We give a lot of charity. Well, Muslims give charity during the year, but during Ramadan, we give more because we feel that more people need it, and we know that our good deeds are going to be amplified, so we give more. One more special thing about Ramadan: there's a lot of special things about Ramadan, but this one thing is called Taraweeh. Taraweeh is a prayer only performed during Ramadan, and it's in the late hours of the evening, night time. So mosques are always filled with people praying, and that makes the nightlife, if we can call it nightlife, more vibrant during Ramadan. We don't go to sleep early, shops don't close early, and people are always on the street, especially those who like to go on walks because during the day they're fasting. So after iftar, they can go for walks. Also feel safe to go for walks like around 9 or 10 p.m. So the city is bustling, we could say. All right, lots of information about Ramadan. That is so cool. Since this is a podcast to teach Arabic, let me teach you some phrases that we use specifically for Ramadan, and you can use them with your Muslim friends if you got any. So the greeting for Ramadan is Ramadan Mubarak. Ramadan Mubarak means blessed Ramadan. To respond to this greeting, you could say يبارك فيك if you're talking to a male, يبارك فيكي if you're talking to a female, or يبارك فيكو if you're talking to a group of people. And that means God bless you. Another greeting that we use, Ramadan Kariim. Ramadan Kariim. And that means generous Ramadan. It is the month of abundance. And to respond to this greeting, you can say Allahu Akram. Allahu Akram. And that means God is the most generous. So usually in Ramadan, people and shops as well like to decorate with the crescent and the star, lights as well, and Fanus Ramadan, which is the lantern. Unfortunately, this year, because of the war in Gaza, a lot of Muslims don't feel very celebratory. Well, we're not happy. So we're not going to go all the way and decorate our houses or shops or the streets. But it's still fun for the kids to have like a fanus lantern. We sometimes make lanterns from paper, colored paper. It's really nice. But we're still going to enjoy food that we have every Ramadan. and that is atayif. It's a dessert that we have after we finish iftar. And of course, most importantly, dates. When we break our fast, we're supposed to have a bit of water and a date. I recommend to feel a bit the spirit of Ramadan. Why don't you go on YouTube and find how to make Ramadan lantern, fanus, and make one, put it in your room, and feel the spirit of Ramadan. So in Ramadan, we have special anashid. Anashid is Islamic religious songs that we tend to play a lot, like a week or two before Ramadan, on TV, on the radio, even at home, sometimes at schools too, and of course throughout Ramadan. They give us the feeling of the holiness of Ramadan. Speaking of schools, the school day is shortened during Ramadan. So, this is a month where our classes, instead of being 45 minutes, they become 35 minutes. And breaks are shortened also by 10 minutes. I grew up having two breaks during the day in between classes, and we end up going back home early. Of course, every student loves going home back early. And it's really funny because other students from other religions in our school who didn't fast or don't fast during Ramadan, they get to enjoy the perks of Ramadan, like going back home early and having classes being shorter. Our friends used to tease us, at least my friend group and my classmates, about, oh, you fast Ramadan and you don't eat or drink and you're gonna suffer, but we get to go home early just like you. That was funny. Remembering it. It used to irk us, I have to say. Muslim students would get a bit angry about it, but it's just friends and, being friends, I suppose. There were no hard feelings for sure. Speaking of friends or students from different religions, since I grew up in Israel as a Palestinian, I grew up in a town or city that is multi religious. So in my hometown, we have three religions. We have Islam, Christianity, and Druze. And something other students did with us Muslim students, apart from teasing, of course, was something very respectful. And that would be not eating or drinking in front of their Muslim peers. I had a couple of friends, close friends, during secondary school who would refuse to bring any food or drinks to school during Ramadan because they know that their close friends are fasting. So, out of respect, they wouldn't eat or drink anything during the day. And if you ask me now, looking back at it, that is marvelous. Like, would you imagine yourself going throughout the day without eating or drinking, even though you're not fasting, out of respect to your friends? As I mentioned previously, Ramadan is the time of abundance. And it's not just abundance of religious things, but also of cultural things, mainly food, I have to say. During Ramadan in the supermarkets, on the shelves, you have specific foods that are enjoyed during Ramadan, like halva, for example. This is a great food for suhoor because it's high in sugar, high in iron, and fat. So, my experience growing up Palestinian Israeli is different from other Arab countries. I know that in the Gulf countries, shops are closed during the day, no restaurants work. They don't open restaurants at all during the day. Everything comes back to life after sunset because that's when people go shopping or hang out or eat at restaurants and cafes. Also, I remember I heard somebody say once that in some Gulf countries, they take the month off from school. So, in a nutshell, Ramadan as a religious Islamic month of fasting and togetherness, it's more than just an Islamic thing or a religious thing. It also affects the culture in a very beautiful way. It's one of the things I admire about Arabian culture, and I hope to keep seeing that in the future. There's a lot to talk about Ramadan, I have to be honest. I just tried to squeeze as much as I could in this lesson so you have an idea of what it's like to enjoy Ramadan. I hope you get to enjoy it as well in your country, however you wish to enjoy it. Before I wrap up, there is a very specific character we have in Ramadan that is beloved by everybody, and that is Msaharati. Msaharati is traditionally middle-aged man who goes to the neighborhood before suhoor, before the meal, before we start fasting, and on the drum, a small drum, and he wakes up the neighborhood so they can wake up and have suhoor before fasting. And that was before alarm clocks were invented, I guess. But we still like to keep the tradition. In my neighborhood, it's a bunch of children who like to do that, and that's okay. They bring good spirits and they're loud, so they wake up the neighborhood for sure. But we still use the alarm clock, of course. So yeah, Msaharati is, think of it as you would maybe like Santa during Christmas. My question for today is, have you ever fasted before? Have you experienced Ramadan before? What do you think something you would gain from fasting if you would give it a try for a day? All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. يعطيكم العافية. See you in the next lesson. Assalamu alaikum.